Feels so good to have a clean podium here that I can mess up. So I sang a song for prelude. Maybe some of you heard the words, and I thought it would be apropos to sing. It's based on the poem that's tacked to our bulletin board back there that someone sent us. When I understand, I stand under. When I stand under, I support. When I support, I lift up. When I lift up, I raise. When I raise, I praise. When I praise, I encourage. When I encourage, I strengthen. When I strengthen, I empower. When I empower, I release. When I release, I let go. When I let go, I let God. When I let God, I understand. So I thought that would be good to read, since how we are actually, we're talking about that. I'm so glad to see the congregation more evenly distributed through the pews here. I don't know what happened. I looked up, it was all clustered back there, like 10 to a row. And I looked up and suddenly we have a lot of people here today. But I'll tell you what's even more exciting than that. Half of the congregation came last Monday to the meditation.
That was cool.
Oh, nice. And we meditated and chanted, and then we couldn't keep ourselves from singing. So we sang some songs. And we sang the song that I wanted to do last week, and that's Hallelujah by Cohen. So that's added to my list. It was because we sang it on Monday. That counts, doesn't it? So when I was a young man, there was a certain something in my house that I used every day, though I had never seen it. I didn't even know what it was. I still don't really know what it is. Not only did I not see it, but I tried it. I went to great lengths. I was very vigilant in making sure I never touched it. Once, while stringing lights on the Christmas tree, I stuck my finger in the light socket by accident, and then, oh my, I knew what it was. How many here really know what electricity is? We know what it can do. It lights this room. It lights our houses. It runs our factories and mills. Oh, it gives us lovely music, television, and you notice something wrong with this room lately? It's the right temperature. So we have electricity gives us air conditioning. Oh my goodness. But who really knows what it is? Throughout my life, I witnessed another something in action, even though I don't really know what it is. Neither have I touched it or held it in my hands, but it has touched me. I'm talking about the light of God, the Holy Spirit. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. You know the song. So whose little light is inside of us that we are gonna make shine? It's God's light. We've all got a little bit of God's light inside of us. And if we're gonna make it shine, what do we have to do? We have to turn up the amperage. We have to turn up the juice. And there's only one way to do that, really, only one way, and that's prayer. But prayer and meditation, I don't mean just kneeling and talking to God or the universe, or however you see this. Prayer also means loving service. It means the compassion we feel in our heart for those around us. Prayer is a lot of things, and that's what makes God's little light shine. And it's not just us, one person, one single flight into the heavens. It's a group effort. The teacher, says it's the judgment that causes pain. And Dr. Lennon, the psychiatrist, says it's the subconscious program which causes pain. Judgment and programs are the same thing, evidently. The thought pops out of nowhere, or a circumstance presents itself, and we feel pain. The pain is there to tell us to pay attention. Dr. Len says that this pain is 100% our responsibility. Now, this may You've heard this before. Donna said this many times, so I'm saying it now. And it's interesting concept because it doesn't seem that way, does it? But this is what Dr. Len says. He says it's our responsibility and we need to clear it. There's something in our subconscious which is causing this pain all around. And by all around, I mean around the world. If you could clear it in you cleared it for everyone. You can heal others. You can heal yourself. You can heal your past or future lives. Just by taking responsibility for the pain. Every subconscious program is shared by all. It is only a matter of tapping into them one at a time and clearing them. Well, that's the theory behind Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian healing modality. One day, a newly appointed psychiatrist, Dr. Lin, arrived at the prison ward for the mentally challenged. Crazy. My wife works for these people, and they're supposed to call them something, a long phrase. And I just say Cheryl's crazies. And they're the loveliest group of people. If you ever go out there and get to know them. I used to work there, and for years afterwards, they've forgotten me now, but for years afterwards, they see me in the grocery store or something, and they come up, give me a big hug and say, Larry, where have you been? Oh, I don't work there. How come? Well, you know. Anyways, these people were a little bit more crazy than that in this, because they were prisoners, first of all, they'd done something, so they needed help. So he's working on this, and the nurse is just saying, okay, here's some guy, he's gonna come in, he's gonna give us a bunch of things that we need to do, and you know, rattle our cage and stuff we don't want him to do to us, and all in trying to fix the problem. The problem was the workers that worked there wouldn't walk through the ward unless their back was to a wall. For the consequences, they must have had some difficulties that showed them what would happen if they didn't do that. Yeah. And so it wasn't a very safe place. So they wondered, well, what is Dr. Lin going to do? Well, he didn't seem to be doing anything. In fact, he did nothing. He sat in his office and studied their files. He never talked to the prisoners. They're saying, what? He says, Dr. Lin, what the blazes are you doing? Oh, Ho'oponopono. Well, that's going to tell him. Well, in Hawaiian, that word means to restore. Over time, the gardens were started to be taken care of. Some of the tennis courts were repaired, and some of the prisoners who were never allowed to go outside were allowed to go out and play tennis with the staff. Some of them that had been shackled, whenever they're in the presence of anyone else, they had to be shackled. Their shackles were taken off. Some people were given less drugs. Dr. Lin worked there 4 years. And at the end of the 4 years, they had to close the ward. There was no one left. They'd all been transferred to somewhere else. They were no longer insane. So, just what is Ho'oponopono? Repeating 4 phrases while thinking of the person who's in need of help or healing or thinking about a situation. The phrases are, oh, we have a song, so you know the phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now, in unity, we use a form of Ho'oponopono when we say, I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. I see the Christ in you. You pay attention to the energy that fills your body when you say first set of phrases or the ones we use here. You will get an exact response. I do. It fills me with the same energy, a healing energy that is radiating out from me. And guess what? It's not just my problem. If I'm feeling something, if I'm feeling pain and I can heal it, everyone else that has that program running is going to be healed, at least to some degree. It's a promise. Oh, I've done this lots of times. I used to do remote Ho'oponopono for people that were look like they were. You ever seen anyone that looks like this?
Yes.
I do it for, in fact, Cheryl pointed that lady out, she's still living here. He goes, remember when you did that thing and she brightened up, but she had reason to, or something was awful was going on with her child at the time. But after a couple minutes, she suddenly sat up and smiled. Coincidence. So this is probably one of the most spectacular healing. Well, I had a lot of healing adventures, but this one was interesting. I had a bite, a brown recluse spider, you know what they are. They'll bite you on the leg, they'll leave a hole this big.
Wow.
It's something to do with the poison that makes the protein in your body disintegrate. So it's not nice to get. And if you get it on your hand, if you have a hand, if you get a hole that's this big, what's going to happen to the hand? It's not a good deal. And I'm a pianist, by the way. I like using my hands, and I'm a chef. Well, I'm Cheryl's sous chef. I chop, she cooks. But and I still have all my fingers, mostly. What I did is I sent energy through my body using something the Taoists call the microcosmic orbits, where you move it around and around while repeating these words. I love you, thank you. The spider poison has left my body. And I was on vacation. I don't know, these vacations always come up when you're not wanting them, but I was there, and so I was feeling sick, flu symptoms. My kidneys were in pain, trying to deal with the poison, and this is a serious poison. When I got bit, I knew what it was. I got bit right here, and instantly I felt a sharp pain go to the end of my finger and all the way up my arm, like that fast. And I go, that wasn't just a normal bite. And then I found out what it was. And I go, oh my goodness. And then the hole appeared. You know, it's just this big, but it's just a finger. Okay, I wanted my finger. So I started doing this. And after 2 days of this vigil, I was told, drink. So I did. I mean, drink more, drink more. So I drank a lot. Well, that night I had to get up. I won't say why. I had to get up like 12 times. I sweat so much that the sheet was soaking. I could have wrung the sheet out. I had to get out and sit in the chair. It was so wet I couldn't stand laying in that puddle of water anymore. Well, interestingly, in the morning, my kidneys felt fine. I felt fine, and the hole wasn't there. It disappeared in the middle of the night.
Really?
So a miracle. Ho'oponopono is a potent healing modality. But the real miracle comes when you can heal your soul. Here is a quote from Emmanuel. You may recognize it. You come to bring light where there seems to be darkness, to bring love where fear seems to be. Remember the purpose of your soul when such a time of darkness will seem less like an oppressive weight, but rather like an opportunity. Where can I see love here? When, without even knowing the meaning of it, you say with every inhalation, I choose love here. I choose love. You will see the light change and the darkness dispel. Ho'oponopono is a type of chanting. So is Emmanuel's mantra. I choose love. You know why we chant? You know why it works? Because the chanting helps you get beyond your intellect. If you keep chanting the mantra, at some point it will go deep and it will start doing you some good. Just by repeating the mantra over and over, the mind stops working and you get deeper into your heart, where it can bring incredible change. I choose love. When this phrase is chanted, it becomes a powerful intention that we offer to the universe, which says, I'm ready to open my heart in a way that I haven't loved before, to feel love in a way that hasn't happened before, to express love in a way I haven't allowed before. When you set an intention, the universe begins to remove those things that are not in alignment with that intention. They also remove things that aren't for your highest good. And it adds things but are for your highest good. All from chanting and meditating, praying, you might call it. I'm not talking about things only found on the outside, but the inside. You will change on the inside. Love will be felt on a deeper level, in a powerful way that may not have been available to you before. Such simple words. I choose love, but the power they hold is infinite. Oh, a window is a metaphor for opportunity. Windows open and they shut. Some opportunities are lost and others taken. I'm talking about opportunities to love. Here's a story told by Jamie. Oh, so Jamie, her mom used to call up to 15 times a day, and Jamie didn't want to answer the phone. Mom was getting tiresome. And so she'd let it just go to her answering machine and listen to it later when she was cooking dinner or grading papers, kind of in the background. Yeah, I got to listen to it. And it was always the same. I miss you. What are you doing? When are you coming to visit me? With each call, the mother had a way of escalating her emotions. So by the eighth or ninth call, there was like hysteria in her voice, an accusation. Mother was saying that I was a bad daughter. I thought only of myself, that she was sick. She needed me. How could she be so cruel? By the last call. Now, this is why I took care of my mom, and I didn't do it because I love my mom, although I love my mom. I did it because I was setting an example for my kids. But by the last call, she sounded exhausted and resigned, like a child who had cried herself out and wanted only to sleep. Years later, on the day of her funeral, I played all her messages. Her voice was beautiful to me then. Funny, honest, human. Every now and then, I still play that cassette of her messages, giving her my full attention. Now, not all opportunities are missed. Tara Winfield tells her story, and it's a much nicer story. The only time she had available where no one would be listening in or bothering her, so she could talk to her boyfriend who lived in another town, was at night. So she'd talk to him at night. And she'd lie in her bed talking to him, and even if there was silence, he still just stayed on the phone. Whoops, even if one of them fell asleep. So she realized that was a high, just back when long distance cost. Remember?
Yeah.
14 cents a minute. Do you remember 14 cents a minute? And then down the three, you thought it was a miracle. Okay, so I remember those days. I still kind of cringe when I call long distance and I go, oh, never mind, I can do this. Not a big deal. So she did that, and she knew it cost money, like she knew water cost money or electricity, but she really knew it cost money when her dad walked in her room one night with 3 foot long scroll from the adding machine where he added up all her calls and how much it cost. And it came to over $300. We're talking about the 70s here. $300 for a teenager was a lot.
Oh, it's a lot now.
Well, anyways, she pinned the paper up on her bulletin board next to the awards and pictures, and she paid her parents off eventually, but she also married Matt. And you know, she's saying here that phone bill is still the best. $300 I've ever spent. So window of opportunity. What did she do? You know, yeah, I know it costs money. Yeah, I better pay that back. But she kept in touch with this guy, you know, and they connected finally and got married. So what a blessing. Now, Sandy Greenberg wrote. Interesting twist on things. My father died when I was young, and his brother married my mother. It was his obligation to do so because our family was Jewish, and this is what was expected of him. I thought it was just in the Old Testament or New Testament they did this, but evidently it's not. It's something they do now in the Jewish community. The brother marries his brother's widow if the brother dies. So they got married, but it wouldn't say that they were in love. There came a time when the stepfather wasn't feeling well, so he went to the doctor to check it out. Well, the mother and the doctor talked about this and decided not to tell him, the stepfather, that he was dying, because then he would just kind of waste away the last few months of his life and not do anything fun. So they didn't tell him, well, when you're dying, eventually you do figure this out. And he says, I was standing in the kitchen, and there was a hallway door leading into his parents' bedroom, and he looked in there and he saw them hugging and crying, weeping. So they were painfully coming to terms with the fact that he was going to die, that the stepfather was dying, that their relationship, after all, this time of being married, was coming to an end. I think it came to 40 or something like that, 35 or something like that. Then there was a shift, and I began to see comforting, cherishing, caressing, caring. It went from sadness to something sacred. It went from painful to beautiful. It went from an unhappy picture to a precious moment. But I'll tell you, I thought about this. I read the whole book. It was a wonderful book. We read it together on our drive to Utah. So Cheryl read it out loud. And every time it says, oh, that'll make a good talk. Write that page number. So this made it there. But I started thinking about that. Why were they crying? Not because they were in love. They weren't in love. Then why? Because they could have been in love. We missed the opportunity. Now it was too late. Sandy's stepfather was dying. The window of opportunity was past. The day had come and gone, and the night was here. I've talked about life, healing, and love as intentions. I've talked about time and how precious it is, and how love and time collaborate to create windows of opportunity. Now I'd like to talk about us, this church. Johanna, we used to sit and have these conversations and discuss different things. And one of the things we would discuss is this question: what is a minister? Let me tell you, I'll share with you her conclusions, which have become my own conclusions now that I'm a minister. What is a minister? One who ministers. What is the process? Here we need to dig a little deeper. The foremost, fundamental activity of a minister is to observe the congregation and to pray for them. Now you'd think it'd be a lot of other things, but if you don't do this, there's nothing else matters. This is what a minister does. And so, you love them, you pray for them, you have empathy for them. Then what? What is the action which comes from the interactivity? Service, preaching, and teaching are the ways most churches allow the minister to carry out their ministry. Praying, healing, visiting, even music, or other ways the minister performs their duties. Now comes a call to action, which is not a call, which is not at all needed, because many, if not all of you, are actively engaged in it. The truth is, we are all ministers here. We are all looking after our fellow members and friends. Thank you. This is the magic which makes this church truly special. Thank you. Now, this is an interesting story that I'm ending with. It just happened when I was in Utah. Me and Cheryl were at a folk dance festival from people from all over the world. They were flown in from Hungary and South America with their bands, and they had weird looking instruments, and I wanted all of them. Things I've never heard of. It sounded like a cross between a clarinet and an oboe and a kazoo. It was wonderful. Anyways, different groups. So during the last performance, there was this loud bang and a big flash of light, and then no light, no lights, no sound. Everything went dead. So the dancers continued dancing in the dark, and we could hardly hear the band. They were up on the side stage, quite a ways away, actually. Then a little light began to appear. And I go, what is this? I started to be able to see a little bit and a little bit more, a little bit more. So I looked around. I was near the front row on chairs. And I looked around and looked behind me. And the people behind me everyone was turning on their cell phone lights, pulling them up. There was 1,000 people in this group. A few chairs that the lucky early covered like me got to sit in, and then way this lawn behind was filled with people, and they all, except me, I was the only one there that didn't have a cell phone. They all had their thing shining up like this. Can you imagine 1,000 cell phones shining out the stage? So we could see the dancers now, and the musicians came down and stood right in front of the front row, so we could hear them. And that was right. I was only 10 feet away from this weird clarinet thing. And it proceeded to a spectacular finish. There was a thunderous cheering from the audience. You could feel their excitement, their profound energy they were giving out, the demeanor that they had, that they saved the day. They were responsible for being able to see the last part of the show. And more than that, I could feel a love exploding out, like a wave overtaking everything in its path. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. If one of you don't suggest that next week, I'll be surprised. Each of you have a light, that little light of yours, which is God's light. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Now we have meditation. So everyone take a few deep breaths. Everyone, relax your body, relax your mind. I'm going to speak the words of the chant through. Centered in good, I am stable. Centered in good, I am strong. Centered in good, I am steady. I am strong. Centered in good, I am steady. I am strong. Centered in, please sing along with me since you know the word. Centered